hello, we're here.
Hello.
Episode 5.
We're looking at the ascension process this week.
This is a big topic, right, Lauren? There's
Huge.
There's a lot to discuss. So if we do run out of time with this one, we'll create a part 2. We'll let you know by the end. We'll see how we go.
Yeah, we'll see how we go for time. We have had a lot of questions come in from you guys, which we're going to try and get through. So if we don't, we'll just do another podcast on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we love questions, right? So we encourage you guys to email us and send us what you want to know more about. And the questions we received were amazing. They were very detailed. And I think a lot of those questions, many of you guys would have on your mind and in your heart. So thank you, everybody, for sharing. And I think we'll get started. What's the first one? What are we talking about?
We just thought we'd start by just discussing what the ascension process is. Just, on a basic level for maybe people who are just starting that process or just sort of waking up to sort of what's going on. So how would you explain the ascension process?
It's really interesting because there's so many sources of information, fad words that are thrown around the internet, and so I guess we'll kind of like earmark the main ones you guys have probably heard. You probably all have heard about the 3D existence, the 4D existence, the 5D. I mean, if anyone of you have read The Law of One, the Ra Contact, it was a book that was channeled in the 80s. I highly recommend you do read it. They go into detail on this concept, okay? So you've got, they're called densities. And if we look at densities like energy, they're different energetic states, okay? So if we start with the 3D, which most of us have been born into here, okay? If you're born in the anything from the 80s back, then 90s even back, you've definitely been born into the 3D. You've experienced a 3D existence, okay? And so this density of the 3D, Lauren, I think you would know a lot about this. And if you want to explain the typical attributes of a third density existence and what that kind of looks like here on Earth.
Yeah. So third density is ruled by the ego, basically. So when we're shifting through densities, it's really the battle between the ego and the soul. So when we're in like 3D, the ego's in the driver's seat. So sometimes you can be sort of feeling quite limited due to fear. Fear is a big 3D sort of concept. Fear of not having enough or, behaving in certain ways from your ego out of fear, instead of listening to your soul and having your soul in the driver's seat. So 3D is also typically service to self as opposed to service to others. We're still in that sort of mindset of a real sort of me mentality, like how is this going to benefit me? What do I need to do to get where I need to go, as opposed to looking at it in terms of more of a unity consciousness. And all of that is really coming from a few things. It's coming from conditioning, so what you've been born into, so your family structure, parental conditioning, and what you've grown up with, so what's being modelled to you. And then it's also being triggered by your wounds, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. And what, like any trauma that we've been through, what we've experienced, and anything that we have not yet healed from can show up in a 3D reality with 3D symptoms, I suppose.
Yeah,
right.
Just those sort of playing out of those subconscious patterns and behaviours as well. That's sort of what's happening in the 3D, and not realising that you're playing those patterns out. Yeah. But
Totally.
as we shift into and victim mentality too, that's a real 3D. Yeah.
It's a real 3D construct. I think everybody knows some person who has a story, right? And this story is what they base their existence or the way that they view themselves. And without this story, they don't identify with their true and authentic self. So the story could be, I'm the woman that got cheated on and this is who I am, or I'm a widow and this is who I am. I now be known as the widow for the rest of my life. It's a story that I've created, and it's an external construct of the mind that I have, attributed myself to. But it's not really your true authentic self. No one is, the victim or the widow or whatever it is that's going on with you. And sometimes people with injury can do the same, and they can continually have sicknesses and injuries show up in their life, but it's a way that they manifest in the 3D, that it's the story that they're creating and building around themselves and their identity. So they're identifying as the sickness, or they're identifying as their life situation. So yeah, Lauren, the victim mentality, that's a common one for the 3D construct, isn't it? And, we all know someone who is stuck in that, and all we can do is hold space for them and, hope that they do see a better way forward for themselves. And I guess we see that a lot, right? When some people do come to see us who are not ready to heal and not ready to let go of the story, but sometimes they use us healers as a crux to enable or support their story, right? Oh, the healer said I'm, beyond reproach, or I'm so bad. What happened to me was so bad, she said, so bad. And so, I guess you and I, Lauren, we're very good at picking out those clients who are not ready to heal, and that there's nothing much we can do for them until they change their mindset and their free will, okay? And they're ready to move beyond the 3D and open up to the 4D. So, yeah, that's a good one. I think a lot of people can resonate with knowing someone who's stuck like that. And then we have the 4D, right? That the fourth city experience, which this is interesting because a lot of the spiritual scholars and leaders say that's where we're at the moment, correct? We're in the 4D.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So as Lauren said about the 3D being all about service to the self, we as a collective have started to shift into the mindset of 4D, which is service to others, and that we are kind of all connected. We're starting to realize, and I think even more so since the whole COVID and all the lockdowns and the pandemic hit this earth, we started to shift more towards 4D mentality and understanding we're all connected. We have to work together to get through this because it's affecting everybody. So that was a major 4D catalyst, I believe. And a lot of people had awakenings during that era, correct?
Massive time. I mean, it was like a time of collective awakening, which hasn't really stopped since then. And that's what I guess was something that was really positive and exciting that came out of what was otherwise quite a traumatic experience for a lot of people, going through the pandemic, was that it gave time and space for people to see their lives in a different way. And sometimes that was just enough for them to kind of have that awakening, but it was really happening collectively. Whereas I think historically, it's been awakenings and the ascension process have come about through generally traumatic catalysts for people. And I'm not saying that didn't happen during the pandemic, but it was just a little bit different. I felt like it was a little bit different what I was observing. It was happening more collectively and, not necessarily from huge trauma, which was interesting.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people given the time and space to go inwards and work out different areas of their life and who they are and where they fit into the grand scheme of things, and improve on health, improve on mental, improve on emotional stuff, and heal. A lot of time for healing of past traumas as well was experienced. So 4D is interesting because we still got the construct of duality. And as we know, duality is looking at everything with two flips of a coin. So you see things as good or bad, evil or good, light and dark. And this is very much playing out in our political, social landscape right now. Lauren and I have conversations about this all the time. All the kind of dark-filled agendas, energies, consciousness that has existed in our previous density, the 3D, has kind of had a spotlight, an energetic spotlight shined upon them at the moment. And all this stuff in the media that's been come to light now, like the Epstein list, the child trafficking, the awful stuff, the celebrity involvement, and all the things that, you know, we're all talking about now that need to go as a collective. And the only reason that they're coming up is because we are in the 4D, and we're kind of analyzing the dark field pockets of our consciousness, collective consciousness that exists, the restraints that are existing on us moving from the 4D to the 5D. And last week, I think we spoke about the narcissism versus empath relationship, and how narcissism is an energy that exists in the collective, or consciousness that exists in the collective, that we are all being made aware of. We all know what it means now, because we have to analyze whether we still want to tune into that frequency, or we are ready to heal that and clear that from the collective mindset. So this is all it is in the 4D. All the things that no longer serve us, that the collective consciousness that can't come with us into the 5D, rising to the surface, so that as a collective we get to choose whether we're ready to ascend beyond those things or not. I hope I explained that well.
I thought you explained it perfectly. I will just add to it though, that, you know, that we're seeing that duality play out, obviously, like you said, on a global scale. That duality in the 4D is also playing out on the micro level inside of people, right?
Yeah.
So,
and our family.
Yeah, and our family, absolutely, and our families as well, which we talk a bit about, don't we? And we get lots of clients who are struggling with that as well. But we've sort of got that transition with the 4D where, you know, where those shadow aspects of ourselves come up to be looked at and to be healed. So it's sort of healing that wounding and also letting go of that conditioning, and, you know, self-limiting beliefs and maybe negative mindsets. Like, it all comes up. So it can be healed and we can kind of move forward. So the 4D, it can be quite tricky, can't it? It's uncomfortable sometimes. It's like a roller coaster. Like, one week we're like, oh, everything's amazing. And then the next week you're like, oh my gosh, like, this thing's come up from my childhood that I need to look at. And, you know, it's learning to kind of ride that wave and knowing that everything that comes up is coming up because you're ready to look at it, basically, and you're ready to heal it.
Yeah, it's awesome. So don't be afraid when things do show up for you guys. It's a time to reflect and expand. So welcome that. Be the observer of the shadow aspects within yourself, within your families, within your collective. Being the observer is so helpful. But I guess that kind of hints onto where the 5D, where we sit in the 5D. So did you want to explain a bit more about that?
So as we kind of transition into the 5D, and I guess we're sort of seeing aspects of that happening now for some of us who have been doing the work for quite a while, is that we're getting to spend some time in the 5D, which is really, really amazing. So I guess that's the other thing to explain, is that it's not a linear process. So we're stepping through the densities all the time. So sometimes we're, you know, maybe if we're spending a lot of time with our family and they've chosen not to evolve the same way as us, we step back into the 3D when we have to go and have dinner with our family, or, you know, we, you know, and then maybe we're sitting most of the time in the 4D, but then, you know, the more we transition through the 4D, we get to sort of sit in aspects of the 5D, and it's, it's such a gift. But the 5D is about, you know, it's love, compassion, empathy, service to others. It's unity consciousness. So you're no longer thinking about, you know, how is this going to benefit me? You're thinking about how it's going to benefit the collective.
Absolutely.
Which is where we want to go. That's how we kind of heal what's happening on Earth at the moment.
absolutely. It's more balanced. It's more balanced. So you'll find that there's more of a balance between the feminine and the masculine. So as we know, the feminine has been suppressed for some time now, and the divine feminine is rising. So in the 5D, it'll be equal and balanced in the collective mindset with the divine masculine. And when the divine feminine rises, she gives up the space for the divine masculine to feel comfortable to express itself in true balance. But another thing I didn't mention, I forgot to mention that when we're in the 4D, a typical catalyst for growth, for soul growth in the 4D is physical, I guess, ailments, physical disease and injury. And once we do hit the 5D, there's no longer a need for the physical to be a catalyst. So it's very likely that our health would be much more advanced than what it has been in the 4 and the 3D. And we can kind of see that going in that direction now that, we're no longer smoking as a collective as much as we used to. We're shining the light on mistakes that we've made in our previous generations that now we need to do fix. That we're no longer accepting as healthy for our bodies and our minds. There are a lot more resources for the mind, body and spirit to grow and expand. There's been, thanks to COVID, a big overhaul of our pharmaceutical and how that is playing out on an individual micro level. And a lot of people are starting to turn to holistic healing and natural healing, like our ancient ancestors, the Lemurians, and the Atlanteans, but more so the Lemurians, because they were a 5D civilization, correct? And they enjoyed amazing health. They had very long immune systems and very long life cycles. So that's also
a matriarchal society. I will just say that too.
Yeah. But it worked.
I don't know. It was
happy.
Maybe there's something in that, guys. I'm just saying.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness, awesome. I think we've covered everything. The 5D. I think the 5D, our spiritual abilities are meant to be more pronounced. So we do have an expansion on our spiritual abilities. Is that right, Lauren?
Yeah, definitely. So definitely, more psychic, and also, whatever your spiritual gift is, you're finding that generally in the 4D, and then, that's just amplified once you're into the 5D. But also things like manifestation, so you'll be able to manifest really quickly when you're in 5D because you're connected closer to source, right? So you've not got anything blocking you in the way. All that 3D stuff that might have been blocking you, like fears and limitations and patterning and beliefs, you've cleared all of that, so you're able to manifest really quickly. And I think too, just to add to what you were saying about the illness being a catalyst, the other thing that's happening during that process is that our bodies are changing as we go into the 5D. Our physical bodies actually change, guys. They become more crystalline. So that's
beautiful.
Definitely so this is a good question.
Yeah.
Does everyone go through an ascension process?
Oh, that's a really, really interesting question. We will touch on ascension symptoms, but does everyone go through an ascension process? Some people, believe it or not, guys, have actually signed up for a 3D experience. Okay, so we all have free will. Okay, we've got free will. Come in here with free will. It's the universal law is free will. We get to choose, and we do write our soul contract before we reincarnate here on Earth. And some people want to experience the 3D, but not just to experience, but also to be a means of catalyst for others to awaken. So I call them the martyr soul. Okay. So sometimes when I see in families a particular individual that just stands out as the black sheep in a negative way, they're causing chaos and destruction in their family, and everybody else is struggling, but then having awakenings because this person is so awful, right? I look at them and I say, you wrote this into your contract. You came into this lifetime to piss everyone around you off so that they could all awaken. And then I look at them and I say, what a brave soul. Thank you. You are the martyr soul. The amount of people that you are helping by being an a-hole in this lifetime. Thank you. I see you. I see you.
You're so bold, Susie. I love it. Like, I'm not quite there yet, but I've got too much Scorpio in my chart to be like that yet, but I'm working on it.
Don't worry, I'm a Gemini. Record me tomorrow and I'll be saying something different.
Yeah. That's why it works so well with dynamic.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. So we've talked a little bit about this, but I think we'll just touch on it a little bit more, just in terms of what the ascension process might feel like. So we've talked about generally there's like a catalyst that happens that sort of starts to wake people up from their 3D lives. So that can kind of look like, maybe, this isn't what I wanted after all. Like it can be, it sort of happens, doesn't it, when people are sometimes in a time in their life where, they've got the house, they've got the husband or wife, they've got the family, they've got the high paying job, it's what they've been working towards for years and years and years. And then a catalyst will happen and then they go, oh, actually, I've got this big hole inside of me and none of this is filling it, right?
Yeah. And people call it midlife crisis, but not everyone goes through a midlife crisis. And the ones that do, I would just say that they're awakenings. They're an opportunity for awakenings. Your soul has written these things into that point in your contract so that you have an opportunity to awaken before you leave this timeline.
Yeah.
And there's beauty in that. There can be a lot of beauty in that. It's nothing to fear. If you're listening to this and that's what you're going through, you can create so much light from this catalyst and live a blissful end of life. Absolutely.
Yeah. But to kind of get there, it is a shedding process, isn't it? And it doesn't, I was just using that as an example. It doesn't mean that that's, necessarily what's going to happen to you. But, it is common to kind of shed all of those 3D aspects of yourself. So maybe, maybe you sell the big house and end up in a, smaller, more modest house because you're sort of like, well, this is all I need. And then that, financial freedom gives you time to kind of explore other things and sort of start to wake up to what you're really here for, which is essentially what the ascension process is, isn't it? It's that wake up to kind of go, what's my purpose? And it's really that switch of like, shedding the layers of the ego, which it's really uncomfortable, guys. I'm not going to lie. Like this is hard work. So it's not for the faint of heart. And it's why not everybody chooses to go through it, because it is hard. But I promise you the other side of it is incredible. But it's just shedding all of those aspects of yourself that are no longer serving you and are not going to serve your purpose and what you're here to do, basically.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So to answer that, not everybody does go through the ascension process. Do you want to mention some of the ascension symptoms? So if you suspect that you are going through an awakening and your soul is ascending and you're vibrating higher, some people can get what we call ascension symptoms. So it's kind of like when the energy is pouring in, the higher vibration energy is pouring into your being at such a fast rate that your physical body kind of reacts to that. Do you want to mention some of those, Lauren?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So you've got all of that light pouring into your body, and our physical bodies are so dense, right? So we've got our physical body, our emotional body, our mental body, and our energetic body, and they all vibrate at a different frequency. So the energetic body vibrates the quickest, it moves the fastest because it's the less dense, and then the mental body, and then the emotional body, and then our physical body is quite dense. So unfortunately, during the ascension process, because of the density of the physical body, it can kind of become quite symptomatic. So some of the common symptoms that we sort of see and that we've experienced ourselves are things like headaches and fatigue, and ringing in the ears is a big one, isn't it?
That's so common. Yeah, that's a common one, the ringing in the ears. Of course, if you get physical symptoms, guys, disclaimer, always go to your doctor first.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Make sure it's not physical.
As a registered nurse, I'm telling you, if you have any of these symptoms and you're worried about them, please go and get them checked out by a medical professional. If you get the all clear, and this is what happens, people go to the doctors with these symptoms and then they can't find anything, then yeah, we're probably looking at ascension symptoms. So things like nausea as well, and temperature changes in the body. So going from hot to cold, hot flushes, particularly at nighttime. So people, and the waking during the night, like waking up, you know, 1, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, like every couple of hours.
Yeah, like something's going on. I need to snap up.
Yeah.
Like, why am I awake for? Why do I have so much energy pulsating through my body? I'm just like so amped up, you know.
Yeah, you feel like you could just clean the whole house. You're like, I'm going to go and clean the bathroom, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, I'm just, you know,
it sounds like a pregnancy or menopause, actually.
Well, yeah, and totally. And a lot of these symptoms mimic other things, so that's important to kind of know too. Like, you know, it might be something else. We also get things like, and this is an important one to have a disclaimer on as well, you might notice that you get changes in your heart rate. So your heart rate might increase. You might get some fluttering with your heart as well. If this does kind of go on, you do need to get it checked out by your doctor, definitely. And flu-like symptoms is another really common one too. That's really particularly when you are going through a process of letting go or purging. We can end up with flu-like symptoms. We can also end up with some yuckier symptoms like nausea and vomiting and diarrhea as well. So some of them can be quite unpleasant. It's just your body getting rid of stuff and shifting and trying to adjust to that higher frequency, basically.
Because we've got the energy enhancement system here at the Sydney Energy Healing Hub, and because it's a 5D technology, basically, what it really is, right, Lauren? So it's emitting a fifth dimensional energy field, and so we get a lot of people that are coming in and out of our doors, and you know, quite a few people do get some ascension symptoms using the system, and the ones that are purging, you know, you get the vomiting, you get the diarrhea because they've got some locked up trauma that's stuck in their body that's got to go, and that's the only way it can come out, because that high vibrational energy is bringing it to the surface so that you can purge it. But I'll just talk really briefly about my first experience. I went into the E system for the first time, and I felt the energy so powerfully, being so sensitive to energy to begin with. But I had a past life block that was really relevant for me at that time period in my life, and it was coming up and down for me as a kind of a burning sensation in my solar plexus. Every time this particular topic would come up for me, it would trigger this burning sensation in my solar plexus. So the first very time that I flew up to Noosa and I tried their, you know, E system before we brought it here to Sydney, that you know, burning sensation in the solar plexus immediately came online, but it came up as nausea, and I thought I was going to vomit in that room. And I was like, okay, right, I'm sitting down because I was getting a little bit dizzy. I'm like, something's needing to come up and release. And I was like, okay, higher self, what is this? Show this to me. What is this nausea in my solar plexus? There's a block there. What is it? Where's it from? Let's feel it now. Let's go, right? And this is the beauty of the E system. There's so much self-actualization that you can do, and healing that you can do, self-healing that you can do for yourself. And so the higher self, me being a psychic, shows me in visions. And so I could see this scene from a past life where my solar plexus were being triggered quite violently. And so thankfully, instead of vomiting, it came up as a whole string of burps. And then the nausea was gone because I was able to see what was being triggered and why, and heal through that. And so this is normal, guys. A normal part of ascending and raising your vibration. But like Lauren said, always do get a check off with your GPs or your doctors or your holistic practitioners first. before assuming that you've got ascension. But typically ascension symptoms, they come and go, right? You'll get them for like a period of a couple of months or something, and then they disappear and it's a thing of the past. But if you guys are currently going through ascension symptoms, I highly recommend grounding. It works for me. If I go outdoors, get on the bare earth with my bare feet and connect and just shift all that excess energy into the ground, and then just draw upon the energy from the earth into my physical being. Spend at least 10 minutes outside grounding. It's going to help rebalance you and get your body ready to receive that energy that's streaming into you. Do you have any other tips, Lauren, on that?
Yeah, definitely grounding is really important. I would also say that I would kind of counter say with the EE system and sort of say that even though it can bring up some ascension symptoms, I've actually used it to help me with ascension symptoms as well.
That's a good one. Yeah, you should do that. Okay.
Yeah. So we've kind of got both things kind of happening depending on where you're at on your ascension journey. And detox bath, really, really important. So the bicarb and salt bath. Yeah,
sea
really
salt, guys, not Epsom or magnesium salt.
No.
Sea salt is an excellent cleanser for the body and the energetic aura as well.
Yeah.
So a hot bath, good one, Lauren. Hot bath with the sea salt and the bicarb soda, detox all that stuff out of you, recalibrate your energy field. That will definitely help.
And lots and lots of water and high vibrational foods as well. So increasing, your fruits and vegetables and things like that can help too nutritionally. Yeah. And just giving your body the time to rest and recharge and do what it's coming up with these symptoms because you may be on the run. And your body's like, slow down. I've got something to clear. I've got streaming energy coming in here. I've got to release some stuff. Just hold on. So you can never go wrong with rest. You can never go wrong with a bit of rest. Totally. And we find that too, don't we, with the type of work that we do, because we're, people book in to see us and we're kind of like, I've got an unusually quiet week this week. I wonder what's coming up for me to look at for myself as opposed to helping everyone else. So if that happens too, don't push through those opportunities to have that time to yourself, because the universe is giving you a gift to kind of go, there's something you need some extra rest, or there's something coming up you need to work on, or whatever it might be.
And that's such a 5D mentality, Lauren, to look at things like that. If you're in the 4D, you'd be like, oh my goodness, I'm going to go broke. There's no customers coming in. There's gaps in my schedule. Oh dear. But then the 5D mentality goes, okay, how can I make lemonade out of these bunch of lemons I've been given this week? Right. It's for a reason. I surrender. The intuitive side of me kicks in. What can I gain from this time that I've been gifted from the universe?
Yes, that's a perfect word for, shifting. It's actually going through the ascension process it takes so much surrender. So we perpetuate a lot of our own suffering by resisting things and not accepting situations.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Perfectly said.
Yeah.
We're pretty much our own worst enemies, correct?
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. And it's the ascension process, it's such an internal journey. It's something that you're going through by yourself, and it's important to surround yourself with people who can support you, but you're the one going through it. So it's and that's the whole purpose of it. It's a returning to yourself, basically. So you've got to do that internally instead of kind of grasping externally all the time. And there's definitely people that can help you along the way. And like you and I do a lot of that work, but we're not guiding that for people. We're just there to kind of hold their hand along the way for a bit and kind of help if we can. But it's really up to you to keep going, to do the work. Yeah, absolutely. We've got some really cool questions that we've got a little bit of time. We can answer some of them. So I'm going to ask you some questions, Susie.
Go for it.
I love these. These are questions that some of our listeners have sent in, and I thought they were just so brilliant. So the first one is, how soon will we see the Earth move into a 5D vibration? And will it be in this lifetime?
Okay, great question. So if we look at this lifetime as, say, the next 50 years or 50 to 100 years, there are varying materials out there that you guys can tap into if you're interested in the ascension process and the 5D and the new earth. I highly recommend you read Dolores Cannon's Convoluted Universe books, or even any of her material. A lot of her material, Dolores Cannon, she's a famous QHHT practitioner, wrote a lot of books based on the thousands, if not, thousands and thousands of hypnosis therapy sessions she had with clients over many, many decades. Also, there's a new girl on the scene. Her name is Sarah Breastman Cosme.
Yeah, Sarah.
Sarah. We love Sarah, Queen Sarah.
Queen Sarah.
She's a queen in our eyes. So is Dolores. We love you too, Dolores. Yep. She's now passed away. Brilliant work. So I feel like Sarah's carrying on the light for her and carrying on the work.
Totally.
So Sarah's got 3 books out at the moment. She's got Journey to Atlantis, Journey to the Sphinx, and then she's got the Trail of Tears. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff in there about New Earth and the ascension process that you might want to tune into. Both ladies, their content matches, so they say the same things. They're both in agreement within the information they've retrieved from these people's subconsciouses, that our highest timeline as a collective, we can reach 5D within this lifetime, okay, within the next 50 years, okay? It is definitely possible. It's up to us whether we want to accept our highest timeline or not, but we are so far on that trajectory. And the way we do that is by working on ourselves, not worrying about others, working on ourselves. The best thing that I can do for you, Lauren, for example, and everybody else, is work on myself. And the best thing you guys can do for me is work on yourselves. And that's how we collectively get to 5D. So it is definitely on our highest timeline. However, disclaimer, if something happens and we all as a collective realize it's too hard and we can't reach our highest timeline, and we can choose a different timeline, and that may elongate the number of years that it takes for us as a collective to get to 5D. So let's keep that in mind. We have free will. We get to exercise our free will, and we are all connected, so we help each other through this process. We have our lovely high vibrational ETs from the Galactic Federation that have a vested interest in helping us get to 5D, because whatever energetic space we are on here on Earth that we are cultivating affects the rest of the universe. So if we're dragging down the rest of the universe, they want to try and kind of help us raise our vibration. And so there's 2 ways that they do that. They can't interfere and intervene, right? There's 2 things that they do. They send starseed souls, okay, to be incarnated here to bring forth more light to a higher consciousness, so that we can help everybody in our communities, so we can, move towards 5D. And then the other thing that they do is, if it looks like we're about to blow up ourselves, the only time that they are allowed to intervene is if we are at risk of blowing up or destroying at least 75% of the planet and the population. So if we're at risk of that, then they will intervene. So you heard those stories, right? Of when they go to launch those nuclear, rockets, whatever it is they're launching as tests, and then suddenly they just don't get off the ground. Something's just shut it down, and they can't figure out what. They see lights in the sky, and then boom, it gets shut down. There are friendly neighbors making sure that we don't hurt ourselves with our naughty toys.
Yeah. Thank goodness.
Thank goodness. I know. And I totally, you see those people out on the street like, E.T., take me home. And it's like, yeah, I get you, because they have our best interests at heart. They really do.
You're like, I'm with you, babe. Like, I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Make me a sign too.
Would you think too that, like, just adding on to that a lot of us, and this kind of feeds into the Dolores stuff too, that a lot of us have incarnated at this time as starseeds to be the bridging generation between, between the worlds, basically.
Absolutely, the way showers toward the new earth, and those making waves in the spiritual community now we would call new earth leaders. leading and showing the way for their brothers and sisters. Guys, I've got this higher consciousness, I've got this higher wisdom. It's going to be wonderful for you guys. This is how you do it. Come this way. Here's my torch, here's my spotlight, right? We're way showers. We're truth seekers, and we're, guides and leaders into the new earth, into the new age. And so
how do we discern, though? This is an interesting question. I think this is very important for people who are just waking up or on their ascension journey, because you're right, there are new earth leaders out there sort of showing the way with the light. How do we discern between new earth leaders and then dark empaths or spiritual narcissists, because they present as new earth leaders as well?
Absolutely. The number one way to discern it all goes back to, are they service to others or are they service to self? How does what they are giving me or teaching me or sharing with me affect me? Am I feeling nourished spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally by what they are teaching or giving me? Or am I feeling drained, angry, of a lower vibe? Okay.
Yeah.
That's important. And then obviously the biggest telltale sign is value. Are they getting paid quite a bit of money? Like, I think we spoke about this the other day, Lauren. There's this whole thing at the moment. It's beware, guys. I've told my clients too. They've asked me, let's go to Egypt and activate ourselves in Egypt. Give me $8,000.
Yeah.
Give me $8,000 to take you on a tour of the pyramids for a few days, or a week or whatever.
Yeah.
Be very well aware of those sort of things, those sort of traps. Yeah. You can do all of this stuff yourself. You can go to Egypt and pay $50 for a tour and work it all out yourself if your intentions are true and pure.
Totally.
Okay?
Totally.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Get a group of friends together that are going through an awakening like you. Go do it yourself. You don't need anyone to give $8,000, $10,000 to anyone for you to awaken. Go bloody into your dark corner of your room and meditate. You know?
You don't even have to go to Egypt, guys.
You don't have to go to Egypt. You don't need. Did you go to Egypt to activate, Lauren, your skills?
No, I've never been to
do any
Egypt.
healing?
No. But I did. I tell you, I did. There are sacred sites that help you activate. So one of the places that I went to by myself, and I didn't pay $8,000 to go there, was Uluru. So we've got places in Australia too for everyone listening in Australia. We've got lots of places that we do activate when we're in certain places. So that was one of the places that did help me activate. But most of my activation has been done at home on my own.
Same. Through life experience, changing.
Definitely.
With other people, with those martyr souls who so graciously martyred their ascension process so that I could awaken.
Yeah, we've both had quite a few of those, and you know what? They're our greatest teachers, and I'm almost grateful for them. I'm almost grateful.
Almost there.
Almost there. I will get there. I'm still, I'm still having a human experience, so I will get there eventually. I think we might leave it there. We've got a lot of more questions, so we might have to do a part 2 on this.
Part 2 sounds great. Part 2 sounds awesome. Let's do that. So, okay, excellent. So if you want to tune in, guys, for more information on the ascension process and New Earth, how to discernment between, real New Earth leaders and false lighters, and how you yourself can be your own leader in this process. Trusting your gut and your intuition. Tune in for our next episode. It'll be episode number 6.
Number 6, we're smashing through them. We'll also talk about, soul contracts and timelines and the concept of time as well, and whether we're living parallel lives simultaneously. Like, we'll get into some topics that are I'm not gonna lie, they hurt my brain a little bit to think about, but it's important to do that sometimes.
Hurting brain is good. It pushes us outside our comfort zone, makes us think, makes us expand. Correct?
Totally. All right. All right, guys. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much, Lauren. Bye.
Bye.